This video is just an overview of fonts and color palettes. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because if you look at your rubric, one of the areas in which you are evaluated on is just the overall web design layout. So again, looking at the layout of your rubric or of the web page, parallax web design, masterful use of detail and attention to spatial relationships. In addition to that, the creativity. So these things can be enhanced by your choice of fonts as well as overall color palette choice. Now, I want to warn you before we go into this video, you're not going to actually, I'm going to show you how to change some code, but I want to warn you not to spend too much time thinking about your color palette and your fonts right now. I just wanted to give you an overview so that if you want to change this right now, you can. Okay, so as far as your color palettes are concerned, what I'm talking about is just like the overall background colors and whatnot. So you'll notice on mine, like I've got like these dark grays as far as the background is concerned. It looks like, you know, like these panels right here are dark black. My font is kind of arranged in this way. And like sometimes when I've got fonts over pictures, it's like a gray as well as these kind of panels. So again, going back to the previous video, how can you identify where those are on your web page? Well, you've got your dev tools, and when you look at your elements, you can look and see like, okay, this section, the span intro border. Okay, so when I look at that on the HTML, that's right here, but my style.css, my span intro border, here's where that background color is, and then color is the font color, so that's where that's coming into play. As far as the overall font in itself, right here it says CSS for all fonts. So the whole page is using this font, this Lato font right here. And as I showed you in the previous video, this is the weight of the font as well as the size of the font. And it's all centered. So I want to show you how you can change these colors and this overall font. First, let's talk about the colors. What you want to think through is what your color palette is going to be. On Canvas, I had posted under modules some sites that will give you some color palette choices. So either one of these are great. So if I open up this one and I click that tab to open it up, this will give me some ideas of color palettes. And so color palettes allow you to just pick colors that will make sense if they're grouped together. And so I've got these colors here, and you decide on a palette that you want. If you want to keep my palette, that's totally fine. But I just wanted to give you some options as far as what will work well together. So this kind of looks like my palette in a sense right over here. And you don't have to use every single color in the palette, but it's just giving you some options. So if I wanted to change my colors, like it's giving me these numbers right here. And in fact, the other website will potentially give me colors. There are several ways. Let's see, this one right here, Color Hunt. There's some ways that these colors are coded. Sometimes they're coded using this hex. That's a hexadecimal, which we've talked about. And sometimes they're coded in the way that our current web page is set up. And so like if I look at our web page right now, and if I go to style.css, like I could click on here, and sometimes they're coded with red, green, and blue values. So right now it's coded with just 0, 0, 0. And if I click this, I could change this. And that HSL, I can't remember exactly what that meant. Here's my hex color for black, right? So if I wanted to, I could change these palettes. So I'll click on this one. Okay, I copied that, 264653. And maybe I'll go over here and I'll say I want this background color to be, no, it's not changing it, 264653. There we go. And now when I click return and I refresh that, well, now I've got this changed right here. And so you're going to want to make sure that your colors are changed uniformly, right? So if I changed it there, well, it probably makes sense to change it right here. So I'm going to click right here and change this to 264653, I believe it was. And again, just refresh it. And now I've got those changed. Now, let me see and make sure that that looks changed here. Yes, so I got that changed over here. Now, it probably would make sense to change this background as well. And so, again, the inspector is going to be your helper here. So when I go to like those sections, I can change those as well. So overall, I'm changing my section. So let me click on my inspector, element inspector, and this is looking like div section floor 5. And so right now I'm going in between floors here. So I'm finding floor 5, section, here we go, section floor 5, that's the class. This is the font color. And so I can just change this to, and again, this one was listed by RGB 264653, 264653. And now when I refresh that or refresh it right here, there we go. So I've just changed, and I'm changing my overall color palette here. Now, going back to this color palette, perhaps like a good font color than F4A261. Maybe I want to change my font colors throughout to 264. Ooh. So it's not F4A261. So what I'll go ahead and go back here and do is I'll go to my intro and again color right here, and I will change this. Oh, that's the caption. Here's what I want, the intro border one. That was F4A261. F4A, F4A261. Okay, so now when I change that, oops, I didn't change it. Hashtag F4A261. All right, so now I change that, and there we go. Again, don't spend too much time right now. I wanted to show you this video as far as color is concerned, but then the other thing that I wanted to show you is font and how to change that. So decide on your color palette. You can keep mine if you'd like, but here's where you change the font. So right now I've got this Lato font throughout. It's a 400 size and everything is set to default to 15 pixels. So if I don't specify it, it's going to default to 15 pixels. Okay, the place where you change your font is on Google Fonts. So I put a link for Google Fonts. You can just Google it, obviously, but your link for Google Fonts is also right here under Web Design. Now, Google Fonts is going to give you access to thousands of different fonts, but there's a very specific way that you add those fonts in. Again, be mindful of how much time you spend in trying to find the right font. But find a font that you like. I don't know, maybe I like this one right here, okay? Now, make sure that the font is readable. You want to make sure that it's readable. You want to make sure that it's gonna not distract people. So like, if you find something that's like really nice looking but wavy and stuff, that might distract people. So when you find a font, what you want to do is there's different options. Again, weight sizes, so you can change the weights here. So maybe I like this one right here, regular 400. If I click on the plus, it gives me some code. What it says is, let me just get rid of this family. So okay. So what it says is to embed a font, copy the code into the head of your HTML. So this is the code that I need for the head of my HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go to my head of my HTML. Where is that? Well, a head is usually at the top. So, oh, here it is. I've got my head tags right here, and all I need to do is to paste Command V, that whole thing. Now notice my fonts didn't change, so I'm going to have to change that there. And so what I'm going to go back and do is go back to Google Fonts, and it says you do have to add some CSS rules. Okay, so my font family is going to be this Nuneato Sans Serif. So I'm not gonna copy right here. I'm just gonna copy this name, Command C, and I'm gonna go back here and it says go into your style. Now this is the area, CSS for all fonts, that's changing my fonts for the whole page. I'm gonna get rid of this Lato Sans Serif and I'm gonna replace it with Nuneato Sans. Now it made one apostrophe, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I only have one semicolon at the end. And now when I refresh, there is the new font, and it is going to be applied to all sections of my page. Actually, it might be easier if I show you right here. Now you can see my new font has been applied to all sections of my page. And there's going to be ways for me to make specific sections smaller or bigger, and I'll describe that in future videos. But again, this is really where some of your creativity can come into play, as well as addressing one of the requirements of the rubric as far as creativity and website design.